Antarctica, the world's coldest, windiest, and driest continent. It's the 5th largest continent in the world. Its surface area is 14,200,000 square kilometers. It's a frigid, isolated expanse of land covered in ice. The Antarctic ice sheet dominates the area, almost twice Australia's size. It's a polar desert without any native inhabitants, and the average thickness of the ice covering Antarctica is 1.9 kilometers. Over the years, exploratory expeditions have discovered the unimaginable in this continent of extremes. Despite being the most recently discovered continent, Antarctica has preserved active and nearly alien life forms under its thick sheet of ice for millions of years. The melting ice and human contact has revealed astonishing features in this mysterious part of our planet, from special microorganisms alien to the rest of the world to strange glaciers that sing. The idea of life existing 1,600 feet under the ice is just unfathomable. Still, like many other instances, Antarctica has left us all in awe. This hidden world tucked away in the dark, jagged cavern was recently discovered by researchers. It's a world hidden 1,600 feet below the surface, deep below the icy sheet of Antarctica. It is an extraordinary ecosystem that escaped the radar for too long. Number 15. The Piri Reis map of Antarctica. The Piri Reis map shows the western coast of Africa, the eastern coast of South America, and the northern coast of Antarctica ice-free. The northern coastline of Antarctica is perfectly detailed. The most puzzling, however, is not so much how the Piri Reis Antarctica map managed to be so accurate 300 years before it was discovered, but that the map shows the real coastline under the ice. Geological evidence confirms that the latest date, Queen Maud Land, could have been charted in an ice-free state in 4000 BC. Hope there were some treasure marks in that map. Number 14. Meteorite fragments. You may be aware that Francis Howard Bickerton found the first meteorite fragment in Antarctica. Still, you may not know that he did so on April 8, 1912. His team found an iron-nickel meteorite on the King Edward VII Peninsula in Queen Maud's Land. The discovery is regarded as one of history's most important ones because it shows that life existed on our planet long before humans did. A perfect rectangular iceberg, this is one of the most significant discoveries ever made. The phenomenon known as slicing or diving an iceberg into two parts is what gives the rectangular appearance to an otherwise smooth sheet of ice. Although larger pieces can occasionally break off from a glacier or other source, icebergs normally expand by accretion when they form from smaller bits. Downslopes flow away from heat sources like volcanoes or warming waters brought on by adjustments to ocean currents. Who knows what the ancient people made when they saw this fragment in the sky? Number 13. Vanishing ice. Although the melting of Antarctica's ice sheet is a serious issue, it's not the only one for which researchers have found evidence. One of these discoveries is evidence that Antarctic sea ice has been shrinking faster than expected over recent decades. This was previously believed to be stable or even growing slightly. However, new research shows the Antarctic ice sheet has been decreasing. Although the causes of this shocking discovery are now unknown, there are a number of plausible theories. Melting land ice could contribute to sea level rise by reducing the amount of salty water beneath the Antarctic ice shelves, which would speed up their melting. Changes in ocean currents or temperatures may be to blame for the melting. The ozone hole over Antarctica may affect how much solar radiation reaches the Earth's surface. Number 12. Monstrous worms are found in the waters of Antarctica. This remarkable monster is known as Eulogisca gigantea. It's an 8-inch long worm with an oval body circled with gold bristles that gleam with its sharp teeth mount. It would resemble a Christmas ornament if Christmas ornaments were manufactured in the lowest pits of hell. Although this little monster typically lives in the southern ocean waters close to Antarctica and is a member of the class of marine polychaetes known as bristleworms, pictures of it have been going viral online and, quite frankly, frightening a lot of people. What appears to be a retractable proboscis that extends outwards to the length of about 2 inches is actually a worm known as E. gigantic that uses its bristles for swimming, crawling on the ocean floor, and even defending itself against predators. Very little information is available regarding this strange worm's behavior and biological features. It was first discovered in 1939. A specimen with its jaw protruding was discovered in the Antarctic seas at depths of 520 to 670 meters, according to a Facebook image that's gone viral. Shrimp are the main predator of this strange and warm-looking creature living in the depths of the ocean. Worms are pretty resilient creatures, distributed across a wide variety of habitats across the world. Number 11. Mummified penguins. Scientists found an abandoned Adelie penguin colony at Cape Irizar off the South Antarctic coast in 2016. Penguins hadn't been seen in that part of Antarctica in over a century, but the nesting site had fresh bodies as well as mummified corpses, bones, and poop. In a new study, a researcher reports solving the mystery. The penguin remains had been buried under the ice for hundreds, if not thousands of years, but snow had recently melted to reveal the colony. By dating the mummies, the author Steve Emsley discovered Cape Irizar has been occupied by Adelies 3 times during the last 5,000 years before being driven out by encroaching sea ice 800 years ago. Number 10. Mysterious ice holes. First noticed by a Swedish explorer who was on the ice cap of Greenland in the year 1870. These are known as cryoconite holes. These water-filled cylindrical holes frequently appear on the surface of glaciers. They are deposits of dark-colored sediments. Above these sediments, the holes contain meltwater, and below these sediments, cryoconite, which is a mixture of tiny rock particles, soot, and microbes, the accumulation of which causes the holes to form. These dark materials tend to absorb heat from sunlight, melting the ice beneath them and creating the long cylindrical holes characteristic of cryoconite. Cryoconite may also contain dust from continental deserts or farmland thousands of miles away, and particles from power plant emissions and volcanic eruptions that somehow find their way to Antarctic and deposit there. In the summer, these holes are filled with water, creating the ideal cold circumstances. The cryoconite dips into these holes, creating a dark inner layer at the bottom as it melts further into the ice. It's amazing how nature is coming up with innovative ways to support life in the Antarctic region, which is why the scientific community is wary of the continent's peculiar natural patterns and practices. It almost looks as though Antarctic has a mind of its own. Number 9. 2 centuries old bones. Both of these bones belong to an indigenous woman from Chile who was in her early 20s at the time of her death. Experts believe she passed away between 1819 and 1825. A strange-looking skull was discovered at Yamanan Beach at Cape Sheriff on Antarctica's South Shetland Island in 1985. It was found close to the remains of a femur bone at a beach camp built by sealers in the early 19th century. Oddly, she was discovered at the sealers' camp because, at the time she was alive, female sealers were unheard of. No records could explain why and how a young woman from Chile was in Antarctica. Since these bones are the oldest known human remains we've found in Antarctica thus far, she was likely among the first explorers to land in this inhospitable region of our planet. This skull is a groundbreaking archaeological discovery, and in about 30 to 35 years, such bones will serve as the basis for territorial claims for this unpolluted icy continent. Many countries around the world are covertly preparing to take possession of these snowy dunes and frozen plains as their own. Can't wait to see these icy wars. Number 8. Pyramids have become popular. Because of the harsh climate in Antarctica, which can barely support light, geologists have never really been willing to consider the possibility that ancient humans once lived there. However, occasionally strange discoveries have caused them to reevaluate this theory. One such discovery is a set of pyramids that appear to have been constructed by humans. However, these Antarctic pyramids are much larger than the Great Pyramids of Egypt. It was discovered that one of these massive pyramids has a perfectly square base measuring 2 kilometers square in each direction. This incredible revelation raised the suspicion that perhaps our ancestors eventually discovered the universe's secrets. There have been numerous reports of massive pyramids being spotted in Antarctica, jutting straight out of the ice and the snow, and although they are almost exactly resemble the ones in Egypt, these Antarctic pyramids are much larger than the many stories from Polynesia that tell us of people who managed to reach the Antarctic continent. These stories were compiled by a French academic named Argaud and published in a book called Out of Antarctica. These stories describe a mystical land with white rocks protruding out of the water. Antarctica has been covered in ice for millions of years. Still, evidence is found that in this barren frozen land, indications are that it might have been free of ice in particular areas until about 4000 BC. Number 7. See-through fish. Only a decade ago, we believed nothing could survive beneath the massive ice sheets in Antarctica. Scientists have discovered numerous species of microbes, crustaceans, and strange, alien-looking fish in the buried water bodies of Antarctica. It took years to drill through the Ross ice shelf and reach these life forms. Many of the newly discovered creatures are fish with relatively larger eyes. This may be because the animals must live and navigate in dim light. This is the first view of life under the ice on the world's most treacherous frozen terrain, which humanity has previously dismissed as a pointless piece of ice. This discovery should be credited to the Willens Ice Stream Subglacial Access Research Drilling Project. More than 40 scientists from various fields worked together on this project to break through 740 meters of ice using a hot water drill. Once the hole was made, they lowered a remote-controlled submersible to look inside. These robots sent them pictures and videos of life below the surface. The see-through fish may or may not be a unique species, but experts say it's a member of the suborder Notothenidae. These translucent fish don't glow in the dark. They may not glow, but they are definitely creepy. Number 6. Weddell Polynya. The Weddell Sea, an unsettling hole the size of Ireland that was discovered in 1974 near the Antarctic ice, eventually closed in 1976. To the surprise of scientists worldwide, the hole reopened in 2008 after having been closed for 40 years. According to Kent Moore, a physicist from the University of Toronto, this remarkable hole is located hundreds of kilometers from the ice's edge. Nobody would have discovered this anomaly if it weren't for the satellite images. It looks like someone punched a hole in the ice after it remained closed for 40 years. The scientific community is still unable to explain this odd phenomenon. In 2016, the hole momentarily appeared, but it quickly closed up. Scientists hope to use the Weddell Sea, which is about 31,000 square miles at its largest and twice the size of the Netherlands, to learn more about climate change. A study led by research scientist Deanne Francis from NYU Abu Dhabi has solved the mystery of another polynya known as the Medusa Reis polynya, which was discovered in September 2017 in the middle of an asteroid belt. The only known polynya was the Weddell polynya, which was discovered by satellite in the 1970s. According to Francis, more of these polynyas will appear as a result of global warming. While the discovery of these holes is intriguing rather than frightening, consider how the balance of our natural system will be affected by enormous holes suddenly appearing throughout the surface of an entire continent, not to mention enormous holes that are constantly closing and opening at their edges. Number 5. Bloodfalls. The most remarkable find in this region of the world may be this bleeding waterfall pouring from the Taylor Glacier in Antarctica's McMurdo Dry Valley. It was discovered in 1911 by Griffith Taylor, an Australian geologist who was also the first to investigate this valley. The ice surrounding this dark red liquid coming from the Taylor Glacier's mouth is soil. Scientists initially thought that the red algae were the source of the waterfall's blood-red hue, but they subsequently discovered that something else was responsible for the sinister outpouring of blood in the middle of nowhere. Researchers recently revealed that they discovered the true cause of the red color of this waterfall. They used radio echo sounding to look at the features lying beneath the glacier, which helped them locate the source of this supersaturated red river. Water takes 1.5 million years to travel through the glacier, and sporadic streams emerge from tiny fissures in the ice. So where does this water come from? The water is pushed out of the lake under high pressure and comes into contact with oxygen close to the surface, where the iron in the water is oxidized by the atmospheric oxygen and turns red. This extraordinary waterfall allows scientists to study the subsurface microbiology in the rock. The size of the subglacial pool is still a mystery, but on top it's covered by 400 meters of ice. It's reasonable to assume that many lakes similar to this one exist beneath Antarctica's frozen surface. Bloodfalls, maybe Dracula lived here, who knows? Number 4. Allen Hills, California, 84001. A Martian meteorite fragment known as Allen Hills was discovered in Allen Hills, Antarctica on December 27, 1984. A team of American meteorite hunters from the Ansmet Project made the discovery. Weight 1.93 kilos, the color of Antarctica makes it easy to notice objects that don't seem to belong there. which makes it an ideal place for meteorites. The Subglacial chasignite group, which originated on Mars, is represented by this meteorite. Researchers from the ANSET team go to Antarctica every year to seek for rocks that have fallen from space, and so far they have discovered some amazing rocks. Allen Hill's 84001 is one example. As one of the oldest meteorites originating from Mars, rock AH84001 was discovered by Roberta Score, the lab manager of Antarctic Meteorite Laboratory at the Johnson Space Center on the Allen Hills Far West Icefield. According to them, it crystallized from molten Martian rock around 4.091 billion years ago. The chemical analysis of this rock reveals that liquid water was present on the surface of Mars and SE at the time of its formation. There was a great deal of controversy when the possibility of extraterrestrial life was first announced, with many people assuming that this was conclusive evidence. However, the majority of the scientific community quickly rejected this controversial theory. Even if there was no evidence of Martian life in this meteorite, it still set the stage for many future advances in the emerging field of astrobiology. Number 3. Microorganisms that eat wood and oil. There are over 100,000 different types of fungi on the planet. Still, Robert Blanchett, a 58-year-old plant pathologist at the University of Minnesota, discovered 3 new species in Antarctica while eating ancient artifacts. Between 1901 and 1915, the infamous British explorers Ernest Shackleton and Robert Scott constructed 3 modest huts while they traversed Antarctica. These huts contained relics such as newspaper clippings, food cans, and clothing. They are the last traces of humanity's early attempts to explore and live on this freezing continent. They were attempting to reach the South Pole. Conservationists found the planks were deteriorating and the wood boxes were coated in dark stains in the 1990s after Shackleton, Scott, and his team left. Robert J. Kostler, head of the Smithsonian Institute's Museum Conservation Institute, approached Blanchett, who asked for his help. The DNA of the 3 fungal species found in the huts was unlike that of any other temperate species, so there was no chance the explorers had brought them to Antarctica, and the 3 huts were being attacked by native species. Blanchett was perplexed when he discovered the DNA of these 3 fungal species was unlike any other temperate species because fungi tend to thrive in warmer climates. While examining these fungi, researchers are astounded by how resilient these fungi species were. A real conundrum is how they can survive in one of the world's most hostile environments. According to another game-changing discovery made by Blanchett, one of the Antarctic native species appears to be consuming petroleum split from the fuel containers Scott had left behind, which could also indicate an environmentally acceptable biological remedy for oil spills. Did you know that there are fungi that devour oil? There are numerous bacteria species that break down petroleum products. Researchers from the National Antarctic Research Center of the University of Malaya and the University of Putra Malaya have successfully isolated 2 distinct types of bacteria that can break down fuel. Although this is not the first time someone has found bacterial species that can degrade hydrocarbons here in the Antarctica, these 2 species were isolated from pristine soil samples. Researchers have also examined the conditions that maximize their diesel degrading activity. Because both bacterial strains are native to Antarctica, they're both quite resilient and able to withstand a wide range of temperatures. We wonder what kinds of robust and resilient animals are still concealed behind this huge ice curtain in light of the finding of these difficult bacterial strains. These newfound microbes might have uses for humanity. Number 2, the singing glacier. Imagine the researchers' shock when they discovered the ice shift in Antarctica by singing instead of observing it. Researchers recently started analyzing seismic data from 34 incredibly sensitive sensors they had placed beneath the snowy surface of this glacier to monitor the motion and vibrations of the ice shelf from 2014 to 2017. However, when they started reviewing the readings, they discovered that the top layer of snow was continuously vibrating due to the active winds whipping above. Scientists believe that observing the song of the Ross Ice Shelf can allow them to remotely track surface alterations in advance since dunes cause small vibrations in the song's tone. Using this, the researchers could provide a clearer image of the ice shelf's stability. Although the song may not be audible to human ears, it's a remarkable instrument we can use to monitor their surroundings and their impacts on the ice shelf. They can use it to determine whether the shelf is vulnerable and when it will collapse. It's incredible how the world's largest iceberg is communicating with us. Is it feasible that one day we'll discover a glacier singing to humans? Anything's possible in this frozen, enigmatic region. Number 1, a world is hidden 1,600 feet below the surface. This hidden world, hidden in a dark, jagged cavern, was recently discovered by researchers. It's a home to swarms of tiny shrimp-like creatures and is situated beneath the Larsen ice sheet, an enormous sheet of ice that covers much of Antarctica. The idea that life could exist 1,600 feet under the ice is simply unfathomable. Still, like many other instances, Antarctica has left us all in awe. Researchers sent a camera down the tunnel to see what's inside. To their surprise, thousands of tiny blurry flecks in the water made it impossible to clearly observe the surroundings. At first, the team believed their equines were the cause of the blurry images because they were so small. However, after noticing the groove in satellite photos, they realized there was a subsurface river. With the help of a powerful hot water hose, they drilled down 500 feet below the surface of the ice and finally reached the chamber. The presence of these animals swimming around 1,600 feet below the surface clearly indicates that a remarkable ecosystem process is underway, according to a physical oceanographer at the National Institute of Water and Atmospheric Research in Auckland. The researchers were not prepared for this. Even in their wildest imaginations, they hadn't considered the possibility of finding life this far below the surface. The entire team was overjoyed by this breakthrough. This did not resemble anything they had anticipated. They also discovered that the underground water column was divided into 5 unique layers, with water flowing in each layer in a different direction, since the top of this chamber was uneven with several high undulations. Fortunately, the Hungatonga Hung Hapo volcano erupted only a few days after the team studied the submerged river. Sensors installed on the ice surface here captured pressure waves from this explosion moving through the hidden cavern, and the fact that a volcano eruption thousands of kilometers away had an impact on the underground chamber buried 1,600 feet beneath the ice in Antarctica. This implies that practically everything on our planet is connected in some way, which is just mind-boggling. What do you think of the video? Let us know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go. Thanks for watching.